Johnson here, and you're watching Untethered Bible Study. Everything wrong with Genesis, featuring the friendly atheist. And I got my fighting gloves on, and I'm ready to take him to task. I'm ready to find out where he ends and I begin, what he's made of, where his theories fall to pieces. And we'll find out. How you guys doing? We got anybody here yet, or am I just talking to myself? Oh, we got somebody here. I bet that's Darlene hiding in the back. Feeling a little stuffy. That's better. Got me a nice hot cup of coffee because it's turned cold outside. It's wintertime. It's November 1st. Feels like winter anyway. Delicious. Can't beat caffeine in the evening. We're going to run through episodes 18 and 19. This is episode 14 of Everything Wrong with Genesis. We've done this 14 times. Can you believe it? I think it's episode 14. I might be talking out my butt. Let me see. Yep, it's 14. 14 times. 14 times. 14 debates. 14 wins. And I think it's safe to say I've won every one. I could be wrong, though. You could correct me. Hey, Darlene, how are you? Is it as chilly in Florida as it is here? Because it got cold fast. Like it was hot yesterday, and today it's cold. Tomorrow I'll have to turn the heat on if it trends the same. Where's the rest of the fam dam at? The fam damly. I heard they had a wild weekend. Just a little cool. I thought it might be. Feels like nature's taking a change. All that global warming going on down there. When it starts snowing, you can shake your fists at the scientists. Take that, global warming. I'm sure they'll be around soon. I had an eventful evening, or weekend rather. I had a little band rehearsal yesterday. Got to stretch out the old vocal cords a little bit. It was not pretty, but I got through it. And played with some new equipment the band got. Let's see. Still waiting on my little package to show up. When it gets here, probably tomorrow, I'm going to have a field day learning how to use the new tech. They had a wild weekend. I thought they did. I hope they had a good time. Didn't get in any trouble and anything like that. Lots of candy. I didn't do anything for Halloween. I stayed right here at the house. Slept through it. I'm usually playing on Halloween, but because of COVID, there's nowhere to play. I'm actually surprised they let Halloween happen. I'm not entirely sure if anybody went trick-or-treating or not. Nobody came around here. No, I'm asking you if I had a wild weekend, huh? No, I'm asking you. Oh, no, I was asking them if they had a wild weekend. Sounded like they had one. They went out. The last, I guess it was Friday night podcast, they were headed out at the end. And they were talking like they were going to go partying. So I don't know. I don't know if they did or not. Be nice if they did. Be glad somebody's having a good time anyway. Kind of hard to have a good time in this world. Always looking over your shoulder, worried about who's going to cough on you or tell you to put your mask on. Put your mask on. You can't be a non-cult member. You have to put your mask on. Well, I didn't know anything. I just thought they went out partying. I didn't know if they went to a casino or not. That's not what I was asking. I was just asking if they had a good time. Gosh, Darlene. Anyway, I think we ought to wait a couple minutes, see if they come in, and if not, we'll get started. Got a couple of good little atheist videos to push out and break down, crack over my knee. That's fun. I enjoy doing that. I'm always nervous that my backdrop's going to fall. It does it every now and then. It'll decide to fall on me. I need to get some staples and attach it permanently. I'm thinking about getting some new lights in here too. The lights I have aren't quite strong enough. You see all these little speckles around the edges? For whatever reason, the type of light that I'm using will not get rid of those things. More light's always better, but I don't want to fill the room up with power-sucking lights when I can just have 2 strong LED lights. No, I know, but they were headed to the casino but didn't go. They didn't go out on Halloween, went trick-or-treating with the babies. Oh, okay. Well, that sounds like fun, too. It looks good from here, does it? Well, from my perspective, I see a bunch of fuzziness everywhere and around the edges of my head. It looks like shimmery, and I want to get rid of that. Get a little starker light. Just have to play with it till I get it right, that's all. The lights that I'm using are for photo shoots, for still camera shooting. So they're not really that bright. Just for like strobe effect and things like that. Yeah, I stayed home, but they said they had a good time. Well, that's good. I'm glad they had a good time. I stayed home too. I didn't want no part of anything that was going on Halloween. I didn't want any part of it. And I stayed right here at the house. Let that be a lesson to all you young whippersnappers out there. If you want to stay out of trouble, stay home. Build a fire. Talk to your neighbors. Watch TV. Do something. Just don't get out there and get involved. That's the worst thing you could do. You go out there, they'll try to make you be part of their cult. And that's what it is, a cult. Because it don't make any scientific sense. I've had a quiet day, just relaxing all day. Well, that's good. You probably needed it. You had the kids all week, didn't you? Probably due for a slow down day. Just peace and quiet. I remember those days. Think you ain't ever gonna hear silence again? I have to send them to bed on some trumped up charges. Because mommy needs a drink. Well, I'm glad you had a nice peaceful day. You're going to cap it off with some atheist busting. That's a good way to end the night. All right, I guess we can get on started then. Let me check one more time, see what's going on. We got a couple people here. Ba-da-ba-ba-ba. I'm hating it. There's his mug. All right, what you got to say, atheist?
Genesis 18. Abraham feeds God in disguise, and God's going to decide whether to destroy a city. The Lord appeared to Abraham near the great trees of Mamre, while he was sitting at the entrance to his tent in the heat of the day. Abraham looked up and saw 3 men standing nearby. When he saw them, he hurried from the entrance of his tent to meet them and bowed low to the ground. Are God and 2 of his angel henchmen in disguise? Why?
No, those 3 men are angels. God wouldn't be there at that point.
It's not like God is testing Abraham here. He's just turning into a dude. Or 3 dudes. For no reason.
I'm sure there was a reason, and if you read a little bit further, I'm sure you'll find out what that reason is. Have a little patience.
I do like the idea of someone living in a tent trying to figure out how to be hospitable. Like, make yourself at home.
All people lived in tents in those days, ding-a-ling. Either tents or mud huts. Only the rich people lived in, palatial estates. Everyone else lived in tents, and most of them moved around according to whatever was going on.
You know what? On second thought, let's sit outside. He said, "If I have found favor in your eyes, my lord, do not pass your servant by. Let a little water be brought, and then you may all wash your feet and rest under this tree. Let me get you something to eat so you can be refreshed and then go on your way, now that you have come to your servant." "Very well," they answered, "do as you say." It must not be a very good disguise if Abraham already knows it's the Lord.
Why do you assume they're in disguise? Did it say anything about them being in disguise? Sounds to me like they just walked up on the tent where he was, and he offered them some hospitality, which is what you would do in those circumstances. They're very hospitable people, the Bedouins and those in that area. As a matter of fact, if you're not hospitable, they consider that to be very rude. So I don't understand what problem you're having here with his hospitality towards these 3 men who came to his house.
Or they're the Lord. I mean, if he didn't know that, he's going well out of his way to comfort strangers. "Let me get you water. Let me wash your feet. I'm your servant."
He would do that for any stranger, especially angels, but any stranger that came his way, he would offer them food and water. That's just the nature of those people. That being said, I still don't understand why you think they're in disguise. The word Lord, when he says, "my Lord," that is a greeting to a person of higher status than you. That doesn't mean the Lord. That means the Lord. It's a capital L lowercase O-R-D. That's not the same as the all caps L-O-R-D.
Which is impressive, and also maybe too much. If a stranger is that eager to help you, there is probably something weird about to go down.
You would think that, and that's probably why you're who you are. You were probably raised to be weary of all people, passersby, and strangers and such. A good southern hospitality would be that anyone that passes your way, you make sure they have what they need, because you know that the desert is a dangerous, treacherous place to be, and you want to make sure that you send them off well-fed and well-refreshed. That's just the nature of common courtesy.
And look at these ungrateful visitors. "Yeah, fine. Do whatever you want. Wash my feet if you want to." There's no indication that Abraham ought to tone it down a bit. The 3 men are not saying, "You know what? We're good. The water is enough." So Abraham hurried into the tent to Sarah. "Quick," he said, "get 3 seahs of the finest flour and knead it and bake some bread." Then he ran to the herd and selected a choice tender calf and gave it to a servant, who hurried to prepare it.
Now, you must be questioning as to how these strangers are handling his hospitality. Know that baking bread takes at least a couple of hours to properly prepare it and bake it. Slaughtering a calf and skinning it and separating the meat and preparing a meal, they're going to be there until evening. That's just the nature of cooking in those days. It was not a quick put together. I mean, they didn't have Burger King. So these strangers who agreed to accept his hospitality are going to be there for a while. They're not being rude. They're just accepting his hospitality, and he's doing his best to be a good host.
He then brought some curds and milk and the calf that had been prepared and set these before them. While they ate, he stood near them under a tree. No wonder Abraham was willing to offer them so much. He wasn't gonna do any of the preparation work. You want bread? Wife, go bake it from scratch. Oh, servant, find a baby cow, look straight into its eyes, tell him he's beautiful, and then slaughter it.
Yeah, as the master of the house, that's how one would act in those days. I don't see a problem here. It is his servant and his wife, so there by extension, he is giving the service required. O ye of little faith.
I am such a good host. It's easy to be hospitable when you're just ordering other people around. Also, he's feeding them meat and dairy. It's not very kosher of him.
That's a Jewish thing. These are not Jewish people. These are nomadic people, and they eat meat. Only the Jews that's of the tribe of Judah are the rules set for them to eat kosher and be a peculiar people and follow all these little strange rules. It's not for everyone, it's just for them. Those are God's chosen people, chosen to be set apart from everyone else, chosen to be a peculiar people. Learn your history. You were talking about normal people doing normal things. And by the way, how do you suppose he ended up with servants and a wife that would, prepare bread for him and all that? Takes a lot of work to get those things, to be considered wealthy, to have a nice tent and have calves and servants and all of that. The average person didn't have that. So the man has done his job to make the money and the prosperity that he has to offer the strangers who are passing by. That's not lazy by any means.
And it seems like God is just fine with dairy and bread. So why was he so insistent on all that animal sacrifice earlier? Was he just murdering animals for fun? Where is your wife?
You can't murder an animal because animals don't have the same kind of life that people have. Animals are made for beasts of burden. They're made to be eaten or sacrificed or used as beasts of burden. That's what their purpose is. It's not the same thing as killing a person. Also, it wasn't God's idea to do sacrifice. It was man's idea, but God set the rules. The rules that they have to be a certain way, a certain type of calf, a certain quality of calf. And it has to be done on a certain day in a certain manner. By the way, they eat what they sacrifice, so it's basically just cooking food. The sacrifice is for the Lord. That's the blood. And then the meat is eaten by the people who did the sacrifice. And a small portion is left for the Lord should he choose to eat it.
Wife Sarah, they asked him. There, in the tent, he said. Then one of them said, I will surely return to you about this time next year, and Sarah, your wife, will have a son. Now Sarah was listening at the entrance to the tent, which was behind him. Abraham and Sarah were already very old, and Sarah was past the age of childbearing. So Sarah laughed to herself as she thought, after I'm worn out and my Lord is old, will I now have this pleasure? Where is your wife? Is a creepy question from a stranger you just met.
Not from an angel who is there to bestow a blessing upon you, which obviously Abraham knew very well who they were, which is why he tried so hard to be hospitable towards them. And also, Sarah's being a little snarky here. She probably should hold her tongue and be grateful that the Lord's going to bless her, because he will.
And why do they already know her name? Also, where would she be?
Because they're angels and they already know what's going on. They came there for a reason. They didn't just pass by happenstance.
Live in a tent. If a stranger is asking for your wife and then says he's gonna return in a year and your wife will have a son, I would maybe be a little suspicious of that stranger.
You would be, which is probably why you don't get a lot of blessings in that manner.
At least we could sympathize with Sarah's reaction. I'm 90, I'm barren, I'm going through menopause, my brother husband is even older than I am, and now this guy I've never met says I'm gonna get pregnant? God, what an idiot. Literally. Then the Lord said to Abraham, why did Sarah laugh?
Well, considering that she got pregnant and had lots of children via pregnancies and through concubines and such, must not be much of an idiot. he was right on the money. So you're the idiot for thinking he's an idiot by not seeing that he's there to bless them. And also, he heard her snickering to herself. And he'll probably reward her in a very terrible way because of that snarkiness, considering he's going out of his way to bless her.
And say, will I really have a child now that I am old? Is anything too hard for the Lord? I will return to you at the appointed time next year, and Sarah will have a son. Sarah was afraid, so she lied and said, I did not laugh. But he said, yes, you did laugh.
Not only was she being sarcastically snarky, she lied about it. It's not looking good for Sarah. However, the Lord is a man of his word, and he will bless her, even though she has little faith.
I see the Bible has just done away with pretending these are three strangers. God took off the disguise.
There's never been mentioned a disguise, and they were never called strangers. They were angels who Abraham recognized because he'd seen them before.
And how is that for a conversation? God's like, Abraham, did your wife just laugh at me? Sarah, did you laugh at me? I didn't laugh. I know you laughed. I can read your mind. I'm God. Don't mess with me. Why is God referring to himself in the third person?
Because God is not there. If, in fact, there is a representative of God, it would be Gabriel, the archangel. It would not be God himself, which is why God is being referred to in the third person, because he's not there amongst the first and second persons.
Is anything too hard for the Lord? You know who talks like that? Every bad guy in every story ever. Also, yes, lots of things are too hard for the Lord. Preventing genocide, stopping a pandemic, convincing atheists to take him seriously.
You assume that those things are hard for the Lord because he didn't do them. Has it ever occurred to you that it's of your own making, which is why he didn't stop it? Atheism is, by definition, idiocy. It is refusing to see what's right in front of your face despite your nose. God has said many times, in many forms, that if you choose to be stupid on purpose, he will allow you to be so and even send you strong delusions to encourage it. It's up to you to seek God, not the other way around. You didn't create God. God created you. If you want God's affection, you have to look for it. You have to try for it. You have to be worthy of it. An atheist just isn't. So you caused your own problems, and now you're going to be sarcastic about it. I'd watch your tongue if I were you, but that's just me.
Keeping on a disguise. When the men got up to leave, they looked down towards Sodom, and Abraham walked along with them to see them on their way. Then the Lord said, Shall I hide from Abraham what I am about to do? Abraham will surely become a great and powerful nation, and all nations on earth will be blessed through him. For I have chosen him, so that he will direct his children and his household after him to keep the way of the Lord by doing what is right and just, so that the Lord will bring about for Abraham what he has promised him. What is God about to do?
Lots of things. And he has a plan laid out and prepared to be executed. And he's questioning whether or not he should fill Abraham in on it, because Abraham is part of it. But he doesn't want to change the way Abraham behaves, so he doesn't necessarily want to tell him what's going to befall him. He wants Abraham to act as he normally would throughout all of it. That's pretty much the way it goes when you have a plan. If you tell somebody, they may alter the way they act. And if you don't want that, if you want it to be earnest and to work out the way it's supposed to, you keep it to yourself. There's nothing hard to understand about this concept.
Actually, God's about to commit mass murder. Again. He's going to destroy the Sodomites. And his moral dilemma is whether he should tell Abraham about it, because maybe Abraham's going to try to stop him.
No. He might try to talk him out of it, but he's not going to stop God. Second of all, Sodomites need destroying. Thirdly, it's God's own property. You can't murder something that belongs to you. At the very least, it's just destroying your own property, which you have a right to do because it's yours. Also, death doesn't mean the same thing in celestial terms as it does to us. We see death as the end, which is why we fear it and why we try at all costs to avoid it. Though we try in error because all people die, it is not the end. We just can't see that from our earthly position. Once we've crossed that barrier, then we understand wholesale that there's a whole lot more to life than just that first part, which is in the flesh. Only we can't see it while we're in the flesh.
God is worried one of his anointed leaders is a better person than he is. Why?
How did you get that out of what you just said? First of all, God's not a person. God's a God, not a person. So, yeah, Abraham's a better person than God. He's not a better God than God. That's apples and oranges. Pay attention to what you're saying. You're just spewing at the wind right now.
Why is God having a moral dilemma anyway? He's God. Then the Lord said, the outcry against Sodom and Gomorrah is so great, and their sin so grievous, that I will go down and see if what they have done is as bad as the outcry that has reached me.
In other words, I've heard how terrible and how sinful these people are, and it's grievous in its nature. Terrible and sinful, meaning they deserve to be destroyed. So I'll go and look with my own eyes, just to make sure that I'm not being bamboozled, to make sure they're as bad as everybody's telling me they are, before I destroy them. This sounds like a wise action, not a moral dilemma. His dilemma is whether or not to tell Abraham that his family and everyone else who's going to be around there is going to die, to avoid hurting Abraham, or to avoid having him have that in his head before it happens. Not to hide his morality from him or anything of that sort.
If not, I will know. So much for God being omniscient. He needs to go in person to Sodom to verify that they are indeed Sodom.
Omniscience means that you know the outcome of everything. It does not mean that you know the details of everything. Just because God can see life as a whole, time as a whole, does not mean that he controls or even is aware of every little detail that is involved in living. Every little decision made, he has an overall plan for the world. He does not control every little thing in it. If he did, there'd be no such thing as free will, and you can't have it both ways. Either you have free will or you don't. We do have free will, which means God doesn't control us. He has an overall plan. He controls the overall plan, meaning he knows the beginning, he knows the ending. How you get there is entirely up to you. But there's the only place you can go, so it's not like you can mess it up. You're going to get there eventually one way or the other.
Which sounds as convincing as someone saying, I heard there are bars where men have a good time in Boys Town, but I think I need to go check it out for myself, just to be sure. Also, God is considering genocide based only on rumors, but he just wants to confirm before moving along with his plans to murder everyone.
It's not genocide because they're his creation, so he can destroy and recreate them at his will, at his leisure. It's not murder either because of the same reason. Also, the rumors come from a good source. They come from the angels he sends out to inspect everything. So those rumors are based on fact. So his desire to see it for himself is to make sure that what he's going to do to them is worth doing. That's the mark of a good leader, not the mark of a zealot who makes decisions off the cuff without checking it out for himself. You should be grateful for that, or else you might get caught up in one of those destructions at whims.
Remember that we still technically don't know what sins they're committing. They're apparently really bad. We just don't get to know what they are.
I don't know how you missed it, but the Bible clearly tells you what those sins are. They were fornicating with all manner of life, man, woman, and child and animal. They were passing babies through fire to worship Moloch. They were doing all manner of pagan rituals that involved sacrifice of human life. They were committing sodomy in Gomorrah. They were sodomites. And they were committing homosexual acts and pansexual acts and transsexual acts. And God abhors that behavior. He loathes it. It's the only thing in the Bible that says he hates with a passion. To the pit of his heart, he hates it. The reason he hates it is because it goes against the natural harmony of what he created life to be, the order that it's supposed to work in. It is a perversion of reality, which is what they were doing in Sodom and Gomorrah, which is why they got destroyed for doing those things.
And God is walking to Sodom on foot? Can't he just, use magic or something? But here's the obvious concern. Abraham's nephew Lot lives in Sodom. Destroying the Sodomites means destroying Lot. So Abraham is gonna mess with God's mind to convince him not to do the thing God totally wants to do.
Talking reason is not messing with somebody's mind. Abraham is attempting to be reasonable, to reason with God, to diminish the damage that he's going to cause. Ultimately, God does tell Abraham what his plans are, and Abraham tries to save as many righteous lives as he can, but he is in total agreement as to the destruction of the Sodomites. That's not what he's saying. Lot was not a Sodomite. Lot was a righteous man that walked in the way of the Lord. And the Lord said rightfully, if you can find even one righteous person, I'll spare them all.
Just listen to the next several verses and realize how easy it is to negotiate with God. The men turned away and went towards Sodom, but Abraham remained standing before the Lord. Then Abraham approached him and said, "Will you sweep away the righteous with the wicked? What if there are 50 righteous people in the city? Will you really sweep it away and not spare the place for the sake of the 50 righteous people in?"
Now you see, to reason with God is easy. That's not a bad thing, that's a good thing. That all manner of man can reason with God. So if God has it in his heart to hurt you, you might can reason your way through it. You might not, as you'll soon find out.
It? Far be it from you to do such a thing, to kill the righteous with the wicked, treating the righteous and the wicked alike. Far be it from you. Will not the judge of all the earth do right? The Lord said, "If I find 50 righteous people in the city of Sodom, I will spare the whole place for their sake."
See there? If there's even 50 among the people that live there, he'll spare them all. Sodom and Gomorrah got destroyed. Does that tell you anything?
Look at that sarcastic ass-kissing. God, you would never kill good people with the bad, would you? Would you? You would never. Not you. Meanwhile, we know that's not true. God has no problem killing good people. He already created a global flood and wiped out almost all of humanity.
Almost all of humanity was not good people, sir. You misunderstand the reasoning for it. You seem to think that those people are worthy of living. They're not. Just because you're one of them doesn't mean that you're pleading a case in their behalf in a righteous manner. You're not. You're worthy of the same as they got if you do the same things they did.
We know what he does to babies in cancer wards, but don't worry, says God.
Cancer was created because of the actions of man. God didn't invent cancer. God didn't kill those babies. You can't blame God for what man does.
If I find 50 decent people, I won't kill everyone. 49? Screw it, let him die. But 50, I will walk away.
49 is one less than 50, so yeah. If he could find 50 was the deal. 49 is not 50.
And thus begins the dumbest conversation we have seen so far, because Abraham just found an opening, and God is a total pushover.
No, God is a loving father who doesn't want to destroy his children, and anything that would convince him not to would be a good thing. And because Abraham managed to save a few lives, I wouldn't find that to be dumb by any stretch of the imagination.
Then Abraham spoke up again. Now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, though I am nothing but dust and ashes, what if the number of the righteous is 5 less than 50? Will you destroy the whole city for lack of 5 people? If I find 45 there, he said, I will not destroy it.
Remember a minute ago when you were boasting about 49 people that God doesn't care, he'll just kill them anyway? God just conceded that if there's only 45, he would save all of them. So there was no reason for that argument at all, was there? You were speaking out of turn, weren't you? You are incorrect, aren't you?
From 50 down to 45. We are playing a game to decide how many decent people need to exist before God goes through with genocide.
Again, it's not genocide, it's destruction. And yes, if there's only 45 decent people in the whole of the city of 2 cities, he'll save them. There aren't 45 decent human beings there, which is why it got destroyed. There aren't even 10. Think about it.
That's biblical morality for you. This stupid conversation also implies that there is some number of good people that God is totally willing to sacrifice to punish the wicked. What number would be acceptable? What if the next thing God says is 40? No, I'm not holding back my wrath to save 40 good people.
Yeah, but he doesn't say that, does he? So you're building up a straw man argument, blaming God for something he doesn't actually say. That comes out of your beady mind. And I pray to God Almighty with all of my heart and soul that if this ever occurs again, that you are not the person who gets to negotiate for our safety, because you will cause more destruction.
What a monster, right? Once again, he spoke to him. What if only 40 are found there? He said, for the sake of 40, I will not do it.
See? So your first inkling was wrong. So you are blaming God in advance for something you know full well he doesn't do. He does the opposite, which means you are just talking out of your ass. Stop that.
Then he said, may the Lord not be angry, but let me speak. What if only 30 can be found there? He answered, I will not do it if I find 30 there. Abraham said, now that I have been so bold as to speak to the Lord, what if only 20 can be found there? He said, for the sake of 20, I will not destroy it.
He's come down a long way. Sounds like he wants to find a reason to not destroy the place.
50, 45, 40, 30, 20. At least Abraham is a decent negotiator. Takes his sweet time working his way down, though. Also, he's kind of annoying and very smug.
Well, he is talking to God, so what you consider to be smug, I'm sure he and God consider to be humble and trying to tread very lightly because he knows the authority he's talking to, an authority that you seem to fail to see.
A smarter God would have just destroyed him. Save Sodom, get rid of Abraham. What does God achieve by sacrificing anyone? He's God. Why can't he just single out the wicked instead of killing everyone in the city?
That's exactly what we're talking about here, him singling out the wicked and saving the righteous. And for the righteous' sake, if he could find even 20 at this point, even 20, he'd save the whole city, wicked people and all. But there's not 20 righteous people there. All of them are corrupt and evil. All of them deserve damnation. So the negotiation is actually in vain. But at least he's trying. At least he's doing something in the affirmative. What are you doing? Bitching and whining about how it's done.
Sounds like God is just lazy. Then he said, "May the Lord not be angry, but let me speak just once more. What if only 10 can be found there?" He answered, "For the sake of 10, I will not destroy it." When the Lord had finished speaking with Abraham, he left, and Abraham returned home. Wait, Abraham got the number from 50 down to 10, and then stopped.
Yeah, because that's a lot. If only 10 righteous people exist, surely you can find 10 in 2 big cities. Then he'd save all of them. That's pretty good.
Even Abraham is apparently thinking, yeah, 9 good people? Why bother saving a city to save 9 people? At that point, genocide all you want, God. By the way, here's a spoiler for you. God will not find 10 decent sodomites, not even among the babies. Therefore, all that negotiation was a waste of time. It's
Kind of see the point now, don't you? You're just seeing it from the wrong side. Righteous sodomite is an oxymoron. You can't be righteous and be a sodomite. It doesn't work that way. Sodomy is a sin, which makes you, if you're guilty of it, not righteous, even the babies.
like the Bible is a high school student writing an essay for English class and is just trying to pad the word count. Ah well, Sodom was fun while it lasted, or so we think.
You would think that, and you would be destroyed right alongside of them. Sodomy is a sin. It's not fun. It's wrong.
Meanwhile, someone's gonna get Sarah pregnant, and we're about to find out Abraham, who did so much to stop God from killing people just now, won't even put up a fight when it comes to having to kill his own son.
Well, because killing his own son was never intended to be done. It was a test to illustrate what God had to do himself. You understand?
Genesis 19. Goodbye, Sodom and Gomorrah. Hello, Lot's incestuous evil daughters. The two angels arrived at Sodom in the evening, and Lot was sitting in the gateway of the city. When he saw them, he got up to meet them and bowed down with his face to the ground. "My lords," he said, "please turn aside to your servant's house. You can wash your feet and spend the night, and then go on your way early in the morning." "No," they answered, "we will spend the night in the square." Isn't Lot nice?
Lot is nice, and he is hospitable just like Abraham was, because that's the nature of those people. You need to take note that Lot's house is right there beside the gate that enters into the city, and he tries to get them to come in because he knows what the city turns into at night. Them saying that they're going to spend the night in the square is dangerous and detrimental to their health, and he knows it, which is why he's going to convince them to come into his house during the evening.
Offers these strangers a place to wash their feet, which is apparently what everyone loves to do all the time. And
well, when you walk in the desert, if you've ever walked in dirt, then you know your feet get very dirty very fast, shoes or not. So yes, washing your feet would probably be a good thing, because dirty feet cause problems with your feet. And if you walk on foot everywhere you go, you don't want to have an infection in your feet.
these two angels respond by saying, "Nah, we're cool. We're just gonna sleep out on the streets." I feel like sleeping in the middle of the town square in a place called Sodom will not end well.
Exactly, which is why Lot's trying to get them indoors, because he knows the kind of people that live in Sodom.
And consider why these angels are here. They're theoretically scouting Sodom to find 10 righteous people so that they can go back and tell God not to genocide. Well,
not to destroy his own creation. It's not genocide. And yes, that is the reason they're there. They don't find 10. They don't even find but one.
They found at least one guy right here. And instead of accepting his offer, they're just dismissing him. With an attitude like that, of course they're not going to find people worth saving in the city. But he insisted so strongly that they did go with him and entered his house. He prepared a meal for them, baking bread without yeast, and they ate. Before they had gone to bed, All the men from every part of the city of Sodom, both young and old, surrounded the house.
So you see, they didn't have to go very far because the city came to them. When the word spread that these angels were there in Lot's house, all the men came to Lot's house. All of them, even the young and the old. What did they come there to do? Bad things, as you'll soon find out. Also, it's an interesting note that when he baked bread, he baked it without yeast, which is unleavened bread, which is a specific meaning in Hebrew. Look into it.
They called to Lot, "Where are the men who came to you tonight? Bring them out to us so that we can have sex with them."
Yeah, they wanted some of that angel meat. Think about that for a minute. These are celestial beings from heaven in his house, and these men want to rape them. Male angels from heaven who are about to be raped by the townsmen. That doesn't look very good.
Well, that took a weird turn. At least Lot is like, no, seriously, do not sleep on the streets. Just trust me, stay at my place.
See, you got it. You understand why he wanted to get them indoors. They knew that too. They were testing Lot as Lot was trying to save them. Think about it. They knew what they came there to do. They knew why they were coming there and what the town had been charged with.
Also, all the men want to have sex with the strangers?
Yep.
Young and old?
Yep.
Like the kids too?
Yep.
Jesus.
No, not Jesus. Jesus died to save people like that. Jesus hadn't died yet. So those people were guilty of this sin and needed to be destroyed because there's not enough sacrifice in the world to cover that sin.
Bunch of dudes who are about to violate the strangers. Is it weird that they're almost politely asking for permission? Can we please get acquainted, perchance, with your guests? It's like there's consent, except not with the people they need to be asking.
Think about that. There were no consent. And these people were not being polite. They were banging on the house, trying to get them to come out. That's not politeness. That's thuggery. That's a mob.
If Lot agrees to their demands, then consent apparently stops mattering completely. Can you imagine being the sort of host who gets this request? Some neighbors stop by to ask for tools or sugar. These guys want bodies. The weird thing is that it doesn't even sound like this is the first time they've made this request.
It's not, which is why they're being judged. They are guilty of sodomy of all kinds. Animals, demons, you name it, they did it. Bad stuff. Wicked, perverted stuff.
They've done this sort of thing before, and everyone in town now knows to go looking for fresh meat like it's Shawshank. Everyone in Sodom really needs to move out. Also,
everyone in Sodom are the guilty parties. Moving out ain't gonna change who they are.
Why? If they're all this eager, they have each other, don't they? What?
They're not angels, they're people.
Why bother the two strangers? But don't worry, Lot would never give up two strangers to a sexually aggressive mob. That's what his kids are for. Lot went outside to meet them and shut the door behind him and said, "No, my friends, don't do this wicked thing. Look, I have two daughters who have never slept with a man. Let me bring them out to you and you can do what you like with them."
Now, this is a deception on Lot's part. Number one, his daughters were both betrothed, had husbands or boyfriends ready to be husbands. They were not virgins. Also, he does have no intention of giving his daughters to these people. What he's trying to do is buy a little time because they're working on a plan to escape. And in order to do so, they have to have a little time. So this is what he's doing. He's not actually offering his daughters up to these men. Note that they never get sent out to these men. And also note that when they run, they take the daughters with them.
But don't do anything to these men, for they have come under the protection of my roof. You know, that started out so well. Lot could have said, no, go home. You're all drunk and you need to stop being really creepy.
Yeah, I take it you've never faced a crowd before that had intent to do something that you couldn't stop them from doing. That's not how crowds work. They could have, and almost did, run right over Lot and take them anyway, by force.
Instead, he's like, you can't have my strangers. But I got 2 virgins you can sodomize any way you'd like, entire town. Let me just hand them over to you. I don't need their permission. I'm the worst father in all of humanity.
Really? Well, he saved his daughters from that town, so he couldn't be all bad.
Is anyone else surprised that in a place called Sodom, we managed to find 2 virgins? Actually, it turns out, he's lying about his daughters.
Imagine that. You see how you do? You say the wrong thing, and then you say the right thing as if the wrong thing is the truth, but the right thing is sarcastic. They're not virgins. They have boyfriends. Lot has no intention of giving them over to these men. He's trying to buy time. It's a deception. It's a plot to deceive them. Think about it.
They're both engaged, and some versions of the Bible say they're married. Whichever it is, they're probably not virgins. Right. But saying they're virgins makes them more appealing to the mob. Right. Seriously.
Which is why the deception works.
Lot is the worst father ever. How come the 2 strangers have protection under his roof, while the 2 girls who live with him do not? This is not what focus on the family is supposed to mean. Remember,
don't know where you got focus on the family, but that's not in the Bible. But all the people under his roof are protected. All of them. They never get handed to the mob. That was never the intent. It was to calm them down for a moment so that they could plan an escape.
Remember that Lot is supposed to be the hero in this story. He's the one righteous guy in all of Sodom.
He's not supposed to be the hero of this story. This isn't a hero story. This is just what happened. It's just telling what happened. Doesn't make him a hero.
And he just gave up his daughters to be raped by every man in the city.
No, he just deceived them with a lie so that they would think about raping them. They never get to, because he saves his daughters by taking them out of there.
Get out of our way, they replied. This fellow came here as a foreigner and now he wants to play the judge. We'll treat you worse than them. They kept bringing pressure on Lot and moved forward to break down the door. But the men inside reached out and pulled Lot back into the house and shut the door. Then they struck the men who were at the door of the house, young and old, with blindness so that they could not find the door.
This word struck in the Bible is smote, because angels have a unique ability to smite. It's an attack weapon of theirs. And what they did in this case was strike them all with blindness and confusion so that they couldn't find the way into the house. They're all tripping over themselves trying to get in, but they can't find the door.
Jerry, Jerry, Jerry. So the town mob wants to push aside Lot to get to the 2 men inside, and they tell Lot, if you don't move, we'll sodomize you even worse than them. Yep. Thankfully, the angels saved Lot, and I guess stabbed every male in town in the eyeballs. Why would the townsmen suddenly not be able to find the door?
Because they were smote with blindness and confusion. Didn't you just read that? You're talking about angels here. They can do that sort of thing.
They're right in front of it. They lost their sight, not their memory. The 2 men said to Lot, do you have anyone else here? Sons-in-law, sons or daughters, or anyone else in the city who belongs to you? Get them out of here, because we are going to destroy this place. The outcry to the Lord against its people is so great that he has sent us to destroy it. So Lot went out and spoke to his sons-in-law, who were pledged to marry his daughters. He said, "Hurry and get out of this place because the Lord is about to destroy the city." But his sons-in-law thought he was joking.
Gather his sons-in-law were part of the city, which meant they were probably there amongst that crowd at one point.
How on earth can you think this is all a joke when the entire town banged on the door, threatened rape, your future father-in-law offered up your fiancés to the mob, and there was a fight during which everyone in town went blind? Were these guys sleeping during all of that? Remember that these two angels are searching for 10 decent people, but instead they got in the middle of a fight and they're totally abandoning that investigation.
No, they didn't have to abandon it because all of the townspeople came to the house where they could see them all and see their intentions, which meant there were not 10 or even 3 righteous people in that whole town, which meant it failed the test. You see, they came looking for a way to save it. They found that it was unsavable. So now they're going to destroy it by smiting it off the face of the earth. This is a very devastating move that's going to happen. They basically are going to nuke the place.
With the coming of dawn, the angels urged Lot, saying, "Hurry, take your wife and your 2 daughters who are here, or you will be swept away when the city is punished." When he hesitated, the men grasped his hand and the hands of his wife and of his 2 daughters and led them safely out of the city, for the Lord was merciful to them. As soon as they had brought them out, one of them said, "Flee for your lives! Don't look back, and don't stop anywhere in the plain. Flee to the mountains, or you will be swept away."
Now, why is he saying this to them? You see, they set in motion what I'm assuming, and this is my opinion, asteroids from space being sent in this direction. Whatever they were doing, they had a time limit, and they needed to get out of there fast and not stop, just keep going, because whatever was coming, and it wasn't stoppable, you see. Now, hellfire and brimstone rained down on that city until it was ash. That's a lot. So whatever caused that, whether it be from outer space or from a volcano or whatever caused that to happen, which there is a scientifically accurate way of describing it, because everything God does is natural, but whatever caused it couldn't be stopped. Once it was set in motion, it was going to happen. So that's why the urgency here, to get them out and to not look back. They were told not to look back because if they desired to be in that city, then they would be destroyed just like the people in the city. Their goal was to get away, to not stop until they are gone. Well, one of them will look back in envy and miss the place that they're leaving, and she will pay the price for that, because they told them very clearly, don't even look over your shoulder, just keep moving.
I guess we're leaving behind the sons-in-law. I know those 2 thought Lot was joking, but damn, I did not realize that warranted the death penalty. I guess Lot didn't ask his daughters for consent on that one either. But Lot said to them, "No, my lords, please. Your servant has found favor in your eyes, and you have shown great kindness to me in sparing my life. But I can't flee to the mountains. This disaster will overtake me, and I'll die. Look, here is a town near enough to run to, and it is small. Let me flee to it. It is very small, isn't it? Then my life will be spared." Poor Lot. They're trying to save him, but a 100-year-old man just can't make it up some mountains. It's the most realistic thing we've heard so far this chapter. By the way, Lot wants to flee to a small town called Zoar, which, since God is not destroying it, should have men and women and children. I repeat, it should have men. I just want you to remember that when you hear what Lot's daughters are about to do to him.
And I want you to remember that those men in Zoar are not of the bloodline that Lot is of. And the women, as is customary in those days, took men from one specific bloodline. it was very important that they keep that bloodline going forward, because if they didn't, then that would tarnish the inheritance of that bloodline. And this is the way they looked at it. So when Lot's daughters chose to do what they did it because they didn't think there were any other men alive that could fulfill this destiny. And they wanted to propagate the species, as it were, which is what they were told to do from childhood. That's the way these people think. That's the way they were taught. So there not being access to any other men of that bloodline, they reasoned that they must get that seed from the only man left in that bloodline. Turns out they were wrong. There were still people of that bloodline in other places, but they didn't know that. And they didn't know they would ever come off that mountain. They thought this was it. They just watched a city destroyed. They thought that this was their life. So whether what they did was right or wrong is not for me to say, or how I feel about it, but that is what they did, and this is the reasoning behind it.
He said to him, "Very well, I will grant this request too. I will not overthrow the town you speak of, but flee there quickly, because I cannot do anything until you reach it."
Look, quit running your mouth and leave already. You cannot be here. This place is fixing to go up in smoke. Get out. If you want to go to that town, go. Whatever, just get out.
That is why the town was called Zoar. "Hurry, Lot, I got some genociding to do. Move it." By the time Lot reached Zoar, the sun had risen over the land. Then the Lord rained down burning sulfur on Sodom and Gomorrah from the Lord out of the heavens. Thus he overthrew those cities and the entire plain, destroying all those living in the cities, and also the vegetation in the land. But Lot's wife looked back, and she became a pillar of salt.
She should not have looked back. The angel specifically told her, don't look back. Keep moving forward. Keep your head down and keep going forward. They chose to not do so. So she paid the price. And the price was her life. She was turned into a pillar of salt, which meant she was melted by the hellfire and brimstone and the heat thereof. I would assume that she probably turned back to go that direction, back to Sodom, because she didn't believe it was going to be destroyed. But it was. Now there's only Lot and his two daughters, and the strangers have told them to flee, and that's where they're going to do.
Think about all the ways God could have destroyed a city. Evaporation, ice age, climate change for the slow burn. He goes with burning sulfur. I can't decide if that's a cheap way out or just insanely cruel and smelly.
All the ways that God can destroy the world, like you have an idea or a concept of any of those things that and how they could be done, you're trying to talk for God here, and you don't know what you're talking about. Furthermore, burning sulfur was the punishment for sodomy for that city and its neighboring city. It doesn't matter if there were other ways he could have done it. He chose that way, and that's the way it was done. And if you go there to that location, which has been found, you will find that the entire place is barren of all life to this very day. Nothing lives there at all. Not even animals. Nothing. Not even insects. No plants. No anything. And all you can find is ash everywhere and balls of sulfur that you can light on fire and they will burn, even to this day. A blue flame. That's right now. You can go there and find this place full of what's left of what was there at one time, which was a sprawling city. That place was cursed into the end of time, and nothing will ever grow there again. So while you're running your mouth, you should probably consider this is how God feels about this nature. Maybe you shouldn't do it.
He destroyed the world with water during the Great Flood. Now he's destroying Sodom and Gomorrah with fire. I expect earth and wind will be used against people very soon. What did Gomorrah do, by the way? We haven't even talked about the Gomorrahites, but I guess
they were guilty of the same sins as the Sodomites.
They needed to be fire and brimstone too. Pity the men in Sodom. They were already blind, and now they have to deal with acid from the sky. And I know Lot's family was told by the angels not to look back, but honestly, I would probably want to catch a glimpse of burning sulfur too.
And you probably would be a pile of burning sulfur too, because you were told don't look back. And you need to learn that authority matters. And when the authority tells you to do something, you do it. You don't disobey. That smart-ass attitude of yours is the very thing that's going to damn your soul. If I was you, I'd get a book and start reading it, namely the Bible, and not look up until you find some humility.
Lot's wife didn't do anything wrong.
Yes, she did. She disobeyed a direct order. That's wrong.
Religion is always punishing curiosity. She was looking back at the place she had lived her whole life,
which she was specifically told not to do.
To her neighbors and friends and angry men who walk around looking for strangers to sodomize. And they're all being tortured by a vengeful God. And he kills her for it. What if she was just looking to see if the rest of her family was still...
What if? She was told not to look back and she did. That's breaking a law. That's doing opposite of what you were told to do, which is wrong. Doesn't matter what her intention was. Doesn't matter if she did it by accident. Don't look back means don't look back. Grow up and learn to listen to your elders.
There. God's in the middle of a genocide and thinks, whoops, one almost got away.
No genocide. You can't genocide something that belongs to you. It's not the same thing.
God killed an innocent woman, and he didn't even tell us her name.
All right. What part of you were told to do something and you did the opposite do you consider being innocent? She was not innocent. She was guilty of doing what she was told not to do.
First or last, just Lot's wife. That's like 3 layers of misogyny right there.
How is it misogynist to not give a name of someone who's dead, who doesn't matter to the story, whose lineage will not move forward because she no longer exists, which is the reason why names are given, so that you understand the story. A lot of men who didn't get names too, like all the townspeople, like the 2 son-in-laws. What were their names? Do you know? You don't, because they weren't given, because they died, and they're not important to the story.
Also, consider the utter weirdness of turning Mrs. Lot's wife into a pillar of salt.
Which is what happens when you evaporate the water out of the flesh. It becomes a pillar of salt. Try it.
If you weren't familiar with this story, that is the most Mad Libs thing you can turn someone into. What were the other options? Lot's wife became a slab of meat. Lot's wife turned into a stack of Pringles chips. Why not a pillar of pepper? That one has alliteration and everything. Some people...
Go to a cremora, or creamery, a place where they cremate people. You know, that place. Can't think of the word. Go there and see what's left of the human body once it's incinerated. Ask.
People have said the story of Mrs. Lot's wife turning into salt was a way to describe why the Dead Sea has actual pillars of salt around it, which is not true and wouldn't make the story any less insane.
Just because townspeople come up with stories to bolster people coming in, what do you call that, tourism, doesn't mean that it's a true story. You know that the Sinai Peninsula claims to be the place where the Egyptians crossed the Red Sea. It's not. The Bible tells you very clearly it happened in Arabia, which is the other leg of the Red Sea. But they do it to bring in tourism so that they can make a living by the people that come there. This has been going on for generations all over the world. They claim to be the place where the Loch Ness Monster was found, or the place where Bigfoot is, or on and on and on and on and on. Doesn't make it true. Lot's wife was turned into a pillar of salt. All the pillars of salt that exist in that area were not people, just the one. And it probably doesn't still stand to this day. Who knows? It may.
Early the next morning, Abraham got up and returned to the place where he had stood before the Lord. He looked down toward Sodom and Gomorrah, toward all the land of the plain, and he saw dense smoke rising from the land, like smoke from a furnace. So when God destroyed the cities of the plain, he remembered Abraham, and he brought Lot out of the catastrophe that overthrew the cities where Lot had lived. Did God really remember Abraham, though? Because their last conversation was all about how God would spare Sodom if there were 10 righteous people in the city.
Which there weren't. But he did save Lot and his family, the only righteous people there. That makes about 3 or 4 righteous people in the whole of 2 cities. That's not 10. That's 3 or 4. So you see, the desolation had to occur. But he did save those who were righteous. He didn't kill them.
And yet, that search never occurred. God's messengers went to literally the first house they came across in Sodom and stopped looking.
Because the rest of the city came to them. Remember, the whole townspeople, all of them, young and old, came to that place. They didn't have to go out looking. They saw what the city was about just from the windows of that house. They didn't have to look any further.
Lot and his 2 daughters left Zoar and settled in the mountains, for he was afraid to stay in Zoar. He and his 2 daughters lived in a cave. One day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Our father is old, and there is no man around here to give us children, as is the custom all over the earth. Let's get our father to drink wine, and then sleep with him, and preserve our family line through our father."
Now you see, all of the things, all of the details are right there in that sentence. As it is customary, as they're taught from children, they have to continue the bloodline of their people through the men in their family. And there were no men around. The only one left was Lot. So they preserved their bloodline through their father by getting him drunk and taking his seed, without his permission, by the way, or knowledge. He didn't have any idea that was happening because he was passed out drunk when it occurred. If you don't think that that can be done, you haven't had very many experiences. It can be done.
How long do you have to search for men before you give up all hope of ever finding one and think, let's sexually assault daddy?
Well, considered you've been to the only town nearby and you live in the mountains where there are no people, I'd say for a long time. Also, it doesn't tell you how long they were there. It just tells you that they lived there. They could have been there for 100 years. You don't know. They've been there long enough that they started being concerned about how they were going to propagate their species, that they wanted to continue. And for all they know, they're the only ones left. And that's the way that they see it. They're the only ones that are left. The only way to continue this bloodline, to continue this family, so that they become members of the inheritance of Abraham, which is promised to them, which is why they are taught this. The only man there that can do the job is their father. I'm not saying it's right. I don't agree with what they did, but that's what they did. You seem to think that the Bible is somehow in error because it reports on this story. The Bible's not saying what they did was right either. It's just reporting that that's what happened. They are people, and they did make a choice. Wasn't the right one, but that's the choice they made.
It's not like they're on an island, they're on a mountain. Go climb down and look around first. Try the town of Zoar. How many days has it been anyway? We're not told.
Exactly. They spent some time in Zoar. They had time to look around there. They spent some time on the mountain. They were up and down it, I'm sure. You have to go get supplies. You have to go get food. Where do you think they went to get those things? You have to go get wine. How do you think they came by it? They went to Zohar to get it and brought it back to the mountain. There were no other men of that lineage anywhere around.
Could be like 2 days in the mountains, and they're already giving up. That's like getting shipwrecked, and then 12 minutes later suggesting cannibalism.
Well, it could be, but the Bible doesn't say how long they were there, so it could also be 200 years.
Let's just hold on a little while longer before we jump to the last resort. Why is Lot afraid of living in Zoar, by the way? He was already told it would be safe. Now he's climbing up the mountain? I thought he couldn't do that.
He couldn't do that at the time because he was already exhausted from walking and running around. And he was not told that they'd be safe. He was told that they could go there that night. And they did. The reason he was afraid of living there was probably because he had 2 daughters and didn't want them to have their advantage taken from them. Also, because he just saw 2 cities get destroyed because of their wickedness, and Zohar probably wasn't much better. So he probably didn't want to be there to get that place destroyed either. I imagine the whole thing took a very serious toll on their mentality. Probably had some PTSD from it. I don't know. I've never seen a city destroyed before my eyes before. But they were in the mountains because that's where they were told to go originally. And they eventually did go there. They needed to stop in Zohar first, though, because he was an old man.
This is such a weird family. There's Lot, who volunteered his daughters' bodies to an angry mob. The daughters, who are very eager to get impregnated by their father. And Salt. Where the hell are the daughters getting wine from anyway?
Zohar.
Were they escaping Sodom but made sure to bring along a few bottles? The daughters left their husbands behind, but they grabbed the wine. You know, here's a thought that never seemed to cross the daughters' minds.
Now, here's a thought that never seemed to cross your mind. They tried to get the sons-in-law to come. The sons-in-law didn't believe them. They thought it was a joke, so they suffered their price, suffered the consequences. But they did try to get them to come, and they didn't have a whole lot of time. It's not like they could just sit around negotiating or trying to convince them otherwise. Also, you're making a big deal out of very few details. They had wine, which means they got it from somewhere, which means they probably went to the nearby city to get it, which would be Zohar. Not a problem.
Don't have kids. There are other humans out there. Not every family line needs to be preserved.
No, but these did, because that was the deal. These family lines, these 12 people and their bloodlines were the inheritance of Abraham's promise. So those bloodlines were to be kept pure, or at least that's the way they saw it. I'm not saying it's right, I'm just saying that's the way they saw it. That's how they thought.
That night, they got their father to drink wine, and the older daughter went in and slept with him. He was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up. The next day, the older daughter said to the younger, "Last night I slept with my father. Let's get him to drink wine again tonight, and you can go in and sleep with him so we can preserve our family line through our father." So they got their father to drink wine that night also, and the younger daughter went in and slept with him. Again, he was not aware of it when she lay down or when she got up.
Which means he is not at fault for their actions, because he didn't know that they did that. He probably found out later, but he didn't know at the time, so you can't blame Lot for what his daughters did.
If any Christian ever says it's Adam and Eve, not Adam and Steve, because they oppose same-sex marriage, I just want you to say back to them, you're right, it's Lot and his daughters, not Lot and his sons. Also,
what does one have to do with the other? One is talking about homosexuality. The other is talking about, at the very worst, incest. Not the same crime. Also, the plumbing fits.
If you're a guy and you drink a lot of wine, there's a good chance you're gonna have some trouble rising to the occasion, if you know what I mean. That's especially true when you're old. And that's even more true when you're not actively trying to have sex.
And clearly, you don't seem to understand that you can achieve without being erect. It can happen. So that's not a problem.
I know none of that is the point of the story, but it's just another reason this is all very implausible. There actually is a reason the Bible has Lot getting drunk before impregnating his daughters.
Because that's the way it occurred and people are just writing the history down? I'm guessing that's not what you mean, but that's exactly what the truth of it is.
It gives him cover. It allows him to still be righteous because he didn't realize he was being sexually assaulted by his daughters.
Exactly. But again, they didn't make the story up. They just wrote it down. They reported the news, that's all.
That's how biblical morality works. Even the loopholes contain rape and incest. If the older daughter already had sex with Lot, that could be enough to preserve the family line. So why does the younger daughter need to do it too?
So that they both have children. Because they're both women, and women wanted to have children. I don't see the problem there either. Again, I'm not saying it's moral or it's right, but that is what happened.
This is just gratuitous incest. But with all that said, it's damn near impossible that both women would get pregnant the first time they have sex in these messed up conditions, right?
No, not right. A woman can get pregnant without the man's ejaculate. Just the lubrication that comes beforehand can get a woman pregnant. There have been stranger things to occur. It's not weird at all. Matter of fact, if a woman's ovulating, it's very hard not to get her pregnant under those circumstances.
So both of Lot's daughters became pregnant by their father. The older daughter had a son, and she named him Moab. He is the father of the Moabites of today. The younger daughter also had a son, and she named him Ben-Ami. He is the father of the Ammonites of today. Well then.
You should look into what those two names mean, by the way. The name Ami means of my people. And the name Moab has a meaning too. You should look into it. I won't spoil it for you. I'll let you find out on your own. But you'll understand once you understand the reasoning behind the names. As I know you understand this story wholesale as it is.
That is one interesting family twig. Good luck teaching this one in Sunday school. It takes a lot of work to be the most immoral chapter in an already immoral book.
Well, you wouldn't teach this one in Sunday school because Sunday school is where you teach children the basic concepts of Christianity. You don't teach them the difficult stuff. That's for adults like you.
But genocide and incests and rape within verses of each other is just biblical values at their finest.
Wow. You are one cynical bastard, I'll give you that. But let me tell you, the book is not that immoral. Not that it is a book of morality, it never has been. It just tells you what happened, the history of it, and the sources of those details. Good and bad. And then it tells you about God and the laws that he put forward for mankind. And if you follow those laws, you won't be those bad people. The reason they're telling you these stories is because these people are bad, not good. They didn't follow the commandments, which is why they suffered so much and why they still do to this day. And you, sir, need to get your priorities in order because you are vastly mistaken in your worldview. Yeah, there's 18 and 19. Please do like, subscribe, and share. Hit the notification bell so you find out when I'm going to be here and what I'm doing. Follow the links in the description below and get yourself some swag. And if you'd like to support this ministry, if we've helped you and you wish to keep us helping you, Go to paypal.me/JakeJohnsonBand. Every little bit helps and is much appreciated. Thank you. And with that, I'll take your questions. April, Kevin, what's happening, everybody? How was that? All it takes is a drop. That's all it takes. And yes, the plumbing fit. Whereas Adam and Steve, the plumbing would not fit. No life comes from an anus. That's really scary. Wow. Yeah, it was pretty terrifying. Never looked back. We never went to the casino. We had CJ last night, and Friday we just didn't. Oh, well, that's terrible. Good to see y'all. We made it here. Sorry we're late. We were at the family fun center with the kids. It was Marvin's daughter's son's DJ's birthday. Oh, well, happy birthday, DJ. Ba-ba-ba-ba. Okay, I'm caught up. That's right, cousin. I'll tell him. So what'd you guys think of that presentation? Think I did all right? He just keeps digging and digging and digging deeper and deeper and deeper. And I'll just keep batting him right out of the park every time. Because he's wrong, wrong, wrong. Well, good. I'm glad you had a lot of fun. I had a lot of fun, too. I enjoy doing this. You guys have a good time this weekend? I pretty much didn't want any part of it, so I stayed at home. Slept through most of it. But I understand that Halloween was not canceled and that people did go out and have a good time. Which I'm glad they didn't get away with that. I was blown away by the comment of God ending the world. I was blown away by the comment of God ended the world. Well, he just ended Sodom and Gomorrah. He didn't end the world at that point. How many more videos does this guy have? Well, right now he's up to 42. And we're at about 20. So we're halfway there. I imagine he's going to continue till he finishes Genesis. And that's as far as I'm going anyway, to the end of Genesis. If he goes on, then so be it. But I set out to do the Genesis part. So I'll do that. And then after I'm done with that, which will be a few more videos, not many, then I'll do something else on Sundays. Some other type of deep dive. On Mondays, we'll continue reading from the Bible. Reading one book at a time till we get through the whole thing. So just know this is for the long haul. I mean, we're going to be here for the rest of my life, so we're going to build some content for people to see. Yes, I'm sore. Walked with the kids, and today I slipped and fell on my left hand. Oh, that's terrible. Are you okay? I think you did great. This guy just really makes me mad. He kind of makes me mad, too, sometimes. Right knee is swollen. Ouch. You need to take care of yourself, April. Get you an ace bandage and some ice. Get off your feet for a while. I'm sorry you fell. And mine, Lord willing. Yeah, he kind of makes me mad, but that's kind of the point. I chose well in choosing this guy because he hits that nerve that the atheists tend to hit, that sarcastic tone that he takes with Christians. And I just want to set it straight that Christians are not dumb and that we fully understand what the Bible says, both good and bad, and that the way he's seeing it is wrong. If I don't kill myself, I'm so clumsy. You're not clumsy. You got to take care of yourself, though. Don't be falling around. You're getting on up there in age. You don't want to break a hip. Need to get you one of those life alert bracelets. Help, I've fallen and I can't get up. That's impossible. I can't relax ever. But I'm all right. Just need to be more careful. Well, you don't have to relax to just get off your feet and put some ice on your knee and bandage up the spots that ache. Get you some Ben Gay. I've been lucky enough not to fall yet, but I know it's coming one of these days. But if you think about it, Darlene, if he didn't make you mad, he wouldn't be a very good adversary, and it wouldn't be worthy of me fighting. I didn't want a dumb guy to fight against. I wanted a guy that could challenge me. So far, he hadn't been much of a challenge, but at least he rises to the occasion of being somebody that you don't like. Yes, I'll look into that. Help, I've fallen and I can't get up. Ben Gay is the best thing ever invented for old people. That's why all old people smell like medicine cabinets. Whoa. I did a little rehearsal yesterday and stretched my vocal cords out a little bit. It wasn't pretty, but I got through the night. I imagine if I keep doing that, it'll help. I wouldn't have wanted to sing for people under that circumstance, but it was good enough that I got through the song anyway, even though I had to down key it and sing it in the lower octave and all that stuff. He's funny at times, though. I cannot help to laugh at some. Yeah, he is funny, and he's almost clever at times, but not quite, because what he's being clever about is wrong, so it's not clever. If he were right, he would be clever, but he's not right. But he's smart enough that it's a good adversary for me to fight against. So like I said, I did well in choosing that guy. But I'm only going to follow him through Genesis, and then we'll move on to something else for Sundays. I don't know exactly what yet, but I'll come up with something interesting. But that comment about old people smelling like medicine cabinets is hilarious. Yeah. Well, thank you. I love setting him straight. It gives me purpose. It gives me something to do. And also, it reaffirms what I've already learned throughout my life, you know. It's like refreshing my memory on some things. I don't like the mocking God. That's not funny. And yes, you did. And you do set him straight. Thank you. I don't like it either. But I don't want to edit out anything he says because I don't want to be accused of not taking his statement in whole, you know. I don't want to be accused of cherry picking what I fight. I want to, whatever he puts out, that's what I'm going to respond to. And I'm going to present his video in its entirety without edit. That way he can't accuse me of cherry picking. And they will try that method of attack. They will try to say that I'm picking and choosing what I say or what I allow him to say. Well, if I present the entire video, they can't say that I did that. You called him a bastard. Do you realize that? I don't realize that. If I did, I didn't mean to. I'm trying to think. I don't remember saying that, but if I did say it, surely I meant it as an insult, not as a I didn't mean anything about his dad or lack thereof. If I did say that, I'll apologize for it. That's not very professional of me. And I can certainly take him on without resulting to ad hominem attacks. I'll have to rewatch it and see where I said that. A lot of times I get into a stream of consciousness flow and I'm not fully aware of what I'm saying. I let my spirit do the talking. If I said that, surely there was a reason I said it. I just don't remember exactly what it was. I'll rewatch the video, though, and find out. I'm not going to bleep it or cut it out, though, because if I said it for a reason. I just don't remember what that reason was. Funny. I try not to call people names or result to immature attacks. Now I'm curious as to why I said that or what I was responding to. Do you remember what it was in context of? He said something stupid and you had every right to say it. Okay. Yeah, my spirit must not have been very happy with him. Probably his incessant calling what God does genocide. That's probably what it was. It's not genocide. It's not one nation taking over another nation. It's God destroying his own creation. I've called him worse than that. I believe you. It's a good way to spend a Sunday afternoon, watching him go down in flames. It was just before the like, subscribe, and share was announced. Okay. That'll narrow it down. I won't have to watch the whole thing. I like watching my own stuff, but I like to wait like a year before I do it so it's not in my memory. So it's like watching something that I haven't seen before. I don't like to watch it right after I do it because I was there. But you got me curious about that one. I'll have to check it out. So in the next day or so, my new camera will arrive, and I'll be upping the quality of the videos. And then I'll have probably access to more than one angle, which would be cool, if I can figure out a good way to use it. Oh, it was about Lot's daughters taking advantage of him? Yeah. Assuming that just because it's written that is supposed to mean something of value to Christians, they're just reporting. It doesn't mean that it's right. Just because it's in the Bible doesn't make it right. could be that it's illustrating something wrong. Well, he kind of provokes. Yeah, he does kind of provoke. He pokes at you. Tries to make you feel stupid for your beliefs. The only problem is what he tries to make you feel stupid about. Two lines later, he'll tell the truth, and it just negates what he said before. That's one I haven't seen before. I thought it was kind of funny you were setting him straight. That's right. I will be heard one way or another. I think it's good, though. It's good exercise. It keeps me sharp. I can't stand that, and he already knows that's the thing. Yeah, he'll say something in the negative, and then 2 lines later, he'll say it like it was written, like he understands what's being said, but is twisting it. I don't like it when he does that. You go, Jake. And go I shall. I'm glad you guys are enjoying it. I'm enjoying it. And we've been getting more and more views every week. They just aren't all watching live. I need to figure out some kind of way to advertise better, because the Facebook thing don't seem to be bringing them in as much as I'd like. We have gone up in subscribers a little, but I'd like to go up a lot. Maybe I need to start inviting people that do what I do onto my channel and see if I can't get some other people involved, which would give me access to their viewers and them access to mine, and mutually help each other grow. I need to look into that sort of thing. Yes, I don't know why the people. You don't know why the people what? I know you guys are sharing the videos, and I'm sharing the videos. And if YouTube would propagate my videos like they're supposed to, if they would put it in other people's timelines, then we would get some more views. I share it with Don't Come Watch. Maybe they view later. I'm sure they do. Or something, but I have been spreading the podcast and sharing. Well, that's good. That's all I can ask of you. And I'm sure that the people you share it to come, because like I said, we're getting lots of views. They just are later. They just aren't joining us live. And it could be a timing thing. It could be because they're working or something, or have other things to do at that time. I chose 8 o'clock and 8:30 because it's a good medium between getting off work and eating dinner and going to bed. It's kind of right there in the middle where people would be watching TV or something. And it seems to be the right time for me to get prepared and ready to do everything, get rested up and get what I've got going on done and things like that. True, the timeline thing will work. That's a good idea. Oh, you're talking about getting in with other people who do what I do? I think it will help. I just need to figure out how to do it. Just start sending out emails to people. Maybe I can get in a debate with Kent Hovind, who's a pretty big personality. Although I agree with most of what he says, so it wouldn't be much of a debate. I'd have to pick a side I don't believe in to debate him. Which I can do. You know, in order to be a good debater, you have to be able to debate either side. What you agree with or what you disagree with. If you can present an argument for the side you're fighting and present it properly, then you can understand their arguments well enough that you can defeat them when you go to debate them on your side. There was 2 other people on tonight, but I don't know who they were. Who theirs for now. I don't know who theirs for now. I don't either. You're sounding good. Is your throat better? It seems to be. I have had a couple of good days. I went to band rehearsal last night and did a little singing, and I'm sure that helped a little. It wasn't good, but it was exercise for my throat. And if I do that every week from now on, I'll hopefully get better as we go. I have you on my TV and I'm signed into my phone. Sweet. So that counts as 2 views. Good. Good move. But I'm hoping that it's getting better. It seems to be a little bit. I can sing a little. I have to sing lower because my upper register seems to be gone, but hopefully it'll come back as I exercise. Kevin was in, but he went off and went to bed. Well, sometimes you just gotta go. Maybe he was tired. That's good, Jake. Was it fun last night? You mean rehearsal? I guess so. That's work. But I was sweating bullets because my voice was bad, but other than that, it was all right. I kind of see it as a job, I go do my job, get it done, come home. Not a lot of fun involved, but some fun. I miss singing with bands, just getting out and doing it, period. Well, why don't you start doing it again? Why don't you put you a band together? Ain't nothing stopping you but you. He told me to tell you good night, and he really enjoys you too. Thank you. Good night, Kevin. Sleep well and have sweet dreams. Well, everything don't have to be a debate, just common knowledge, right? I'm just talking about the format of Sunday night is formed like a debate. Or different points of view, correct? I'd like to do some more debates with bigger names. But I'd have to write out everything. I'd have to write the opening and the statements and the closes and all that stuff. And use slideshows and all that. But it's hard to get into that profession, being a keynote speaker and that sort of thing. I hadn't really found a way into that circuit yet, but I'm working on it. I don't have time for it and just love spending time with my grandkids and being with family now. It's so much different for me now. I got you. I guess if that's what you like, that's what you like. My identity is guitar player, so that's what I am. Family that comes with that comes with the knowledge of that. And that's how we live. It'd be no different if I were a plumber or whatever. I just happen to be a guitar player. I really want to take the time I have left spending it with family and learning about God. Well, that's a good way to go. Can't go wrong with that. I'm just saying, if you miss it, do it. Then you won't miss it. If nothing else, go out on the weekends and sit in with other bands. Or do it occasionally. Or get some friends who are musicians and just have them over for a jam every now and then. You don't have to do it seriously just to do it. Or you could learn to play the guitar and then sing for yourself. I guess my children aren't going to take it up either. I gave it to them both, and neither one of them seemed to be interested in it, so it remains to be seen. Maybe I'm just a one-off. Well, you remember how you got to know the first ones? Just do that again. First, you have to go out and find one you like. Okay. I'd like to hear you play. Also, I'm the yo-yo queen. What does that mean? That could be taken several ways. The yo-yo queen. Does that mean you go up and down and up and down and up and down? Oh, I'm not good. I'm just prolific. I just don't go away. It don't make me good. But thank you. Well, I don't get out much, so I started playing with my yo-yo. Oh, I got you. Can you walk the dog? I had a yo-yo once, but I got bored after about the third time it went down and came back up. Gotta do more than that to keep me interested. I'm serious. I dance with it. I have a routine. Really? Now this I have to see. You ought to film yourself doing it and send it to me. I know it's silly, but I enjoy it. I'm easily amused. There's nothing silly about it if you enjoy it. I don't have any hobbies. I just play music, podcast, and sleep. I guess sleeping is my hobby. A real yo-yo. She has more toys now than she did as a child. That's funny. And now I'm working with Kevin, so that will keep me busy from 12 to whenever we're done. Well, I'm glad he's keeping you busy. Sounds like a good job. I sleep too, and if I don't sleep, I'm a monster. Oh, yes, I remember. Yes, this is true. I don't sleep like other people sleep. I don't do it every day. Sometimes 2 or 3 days will go by and I won't hardly sleep at all, and then I'll crash and sleep all day, like today. I went to bed last night, probably about 11 o'clock. I didn't get out of bed till 6 o'clock this evening. Slept the whole day through, but I needed to rest because I'd had a long week. But that's just the way I am. I've always been that way. I just can't lay down and go to sleep like other people can. I'm kind of envious of people that can do that. Just lay down and 10 minutes later they're asleep. Not me. I'll toss and turn all night long, thinking and scheming and planning and working out issues in my head and just all kinds of things. Just cannot rest. And then I get so tired that I can't go any further, and then I'll crash. And when I crash, I don't wake up for a while. I'll video me and send it to you. Sweet. If it's any good, I might put it on the podcast, if you want me to. If not, I'll just keep it for my own entertainment. Yeah, just get your iPhone and set it up and press record and do your thing and let me see what it's like. You can send it to my email. Do you have my email? It's jakejohnsonband@gmail.com. I got to take a Benadryl. I fight my sleep. It's silly, but I do. Yeah, I fight sleep too. My body does not like to relax at all. I have to force it. Make it so tired it can't go any further. Then it'll relax and go to sleep. But even in my sleep, I thrash around. So, even sleeping, I don't relax. But you know what they say. That's why God made morphine. I thought you were going to send me a picture or a video of your yo-yo routine. You going to send me some singing, huh? Not sing with my background equipment, just a microphone and a big boom box I have. Hey, if it sounds good, it's all that matters. I got kind of a big boom box too. Big, lots of power, lots of speakers, big old 32 channel mixing board, subwoofers, especially if there's something on your mind. I can't go to sleep. Yeah, right. There's always something on my mind. Sometimes I'll be thinking about stuff, don't even know I'm thinking about it. I hate it. And if the kids are up or not feeling good, I feel it is that weird. You feel it is that weird. No, not weird at all. That's kind of how our family is. We're empathic by nature. I've always felt other people's feelings. That just means that you're a good, loving entity. You can pick up on what they feel, good and bad. Makes you a good mom. All right, family, it's 10 o'clock. I love you and I had a good time tonight. Please do like, subscribe, and share. Hit that bell icon. Follow the links in the description below. Hey, leave me a comment. Let me know what you're thinking about. Or if you have any questions or ideas or thoughts or just want to get something off your chest, write it down in the comments. Let me know. And if you want to support the ministry, go to paypal.me/JakeJohnsonBand. It's a tax write-off. Every little bit helps, and I surely appreciate your patronage. With that, I will see you on Monday, where we will finish the book of Matthew and move into the book of Mark, and everything will be hunky-dory. I love you too, April, and thank you guys for hanging with me. Y'all have a great night. I'll see you Monday. Peace out.